The weather's getting warmer and the injury bugs are biting, but that's why we have waiver targets coming up at every position next.
It's about that time.
Stoned on Sports.
How's it going, everybody? You are tuned into Stoned on Sports, Fantasy Baseball. It is Waiver Wire Tuesday. We got Kyle back in the saddle after a brief hiatus of helping move some family across the country.
That's great.
Excited about the waiver wire targets. Before we jump into all of that, do want to say thank you to everybody that comes and hangs out with us and checks out our content. We really appreciate it. And if you like what you see, don't forget to drop that like and subscribe. And we do have a chat poll today, and this was inspired by a conversation that we had with one of the listeners there on Twitter. And I know that preamble can be a little dangerous, but we're curious. What's worse, if you have to lose in a really tight, close matchup, or to just get blown out? Anyways, Kyle, how the hell you doing, dude? Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, man. Glad to be back. Trip from Florida to Michigan, but not too bad. Not a lot of issues that came up, so love it. So waivers, every position. We're gonna start behind the backstop there at catcher. If you just lost JT Realmuto for a month due to his knee surgery, this switch hitting catcher is a fantastic ad. He struggled to start the year, but has caught fire since May 20th, slashing 343, 368, and 514 in his fantasy catcher number 4 in that stretch. Matt, tell us about Nationals Keibert Ruiz.
Yeah, this dude we were kind of high on. I remember when we were doing our position previews, he was somebody that was a little bit intriguing, and I think he remains so to this day. You talked about his numbers from May 20th onward. I went back to the 15th, and in that time he raised his batting average 54 points. This dude, the plate discipline is kind of a mixed bag. His 14.5% strikeout rate is outstanding. However, his 2.3% walk rate is the 6th lowest in baseball. This dude missed a little bit of time in April due to injury, but he's been in the lineup pretty much every day since then. But be warned, this dude rarely sees a pitch he won't swing at, but his contact skills are excellent. He's making contact on just under 87% of pitches in overall. His zone contact rate is at 92%, and his outside the zone contact rate is 11th best in baseball, which is good because this dude's chase rate is pushing 40%.
Oh, wow.
Yes. The downside is that contact on those pitches out of the zone generally isn't great. And if we look at his quality of contact data, it's rough. Not going to lie. He's bottom 10% in exit velocity, barrel rate, and hard hit rate. And if we take a look at what happens after he hits the ball, his fly ball rate is up 6 points to a well above average 45.7%, all at the expense of his ground ball rate. Fly balls have a lower expected batting average than ground balls or line drives, and partially as a result of the poor quality of contact and the high fly ball rate, his BABIP has plunged to just 213. That's 50 points off his career mark. So there's going to be some positive regression on the way. And this dude really has been unlucky for the better part of the season. He's got just a 202 average on the year, which is 55 points below his expected batting average. He has some nice pitching matchups coming up, though. He hits better versus left-handed pitchers, and he'll either be facing those or some right-handed pitchers that aren't all that damn good. And after that, the Nats head to Coors Field. Now, in the interest of full transparency, I came into the day fully expecting to talk to you guys about Elias Diaz of the Colorado Rockies, but he got pulled out of last night's game with, we'll call it a tweaked calf. I guess he's been dealing with it for a minute. They're sitting him out today and tomorrow, and they're going to reevaluate again as the week goes on. If he doesn't end up going on the IL, I like him better than Keibert Ruiz. But like Kyle said, if you're somebody who just lost JT Realmuto, or maybe your catcher has just been underperforming, Ruiz is a fantastic option.
Absolutely. I had him on my fantasy team for about 3 weeks last year. till I ended up with William Contreras the rest of the year, which was the right move.
Oh, absolutely. And this year. So up next, we've got a dual eligible infielder that has shown some pop since getting called up to replace a struggling Brett Beatty. Kyle, tell us why we should be looking to add the Mets' Mark Vientos.
Yeah, I like the dual eligibility. I didn't realize it. This guy was the 59th overall pick in the 17th draft. I did not realize that he was drafted that early. He came up for a little bit last year, 65 games, struggled mightily at the plate, hit just 211 with 9 home runs and 22 RBIs. Did work on his plate discipline a lot in the offseason and spring training, and boy, has it paid off. You mentioned he got brought up platoon with Beatty actually for about 2 weeks, and then Beatty got sent down the 31st, and Vientos really hasn't looked back since May 31st. He's the number 9 fantasy third baseman on the season. In 22 games, he has 23 hits. Anytime you have a player that has more hits than games played, I'll take that every time. 4 doubles, 5 home runs, 2 of which were no doubters, 13 driven in, and 12 runs scored. Slashing 324, 388 with a slugging of 592. Excellent. The batting average there, that's not likely to remain north of 300 over a full season, but the power is very real. It's got one of the better barrel rates in the league at 12.5%, along with an excellent expected slugging of 499, a 73 mile an hour bat speed, which is above average, and an above average hard hit rate of 41.1. And you dive in and you look at his metrics versus pitch types. There's not a pitch this guy doesn't like right now. He's got a 571 slugging or better versus the 3 types of pitches. So fastball, breaking, and off speed. And he has homers against all 3 as well. Strikeout rate is 20%. It's above average and a massive improvement of 10% over last year in those 65 games he played. Walk rate is excellent at 10%, above average. He's got an above average BABIP right now at 353. So, he's about 50 to 60 points higher than league average. So getting some luck there on batted balls in the field. Speaking of batted balls in the field, this guy hits a ton of ground balls. Too many ground balls, in my opinion, over 57%. His fly ball rate's about average. And because the high ground ball rate, his line drive rate is what really takes the hit. It's bad right now at just 12.5%. He must improve upon that as he gets more playing time and more at bats here. Looking at some clips and some more data, he's finding some success right now with those ground ball rates, with that BABIP is higher than average as well. He's got an above average pull rate, almost 43%, and same up the middle, 43%. So he's pretty much pull straight up the middle guy. He hits almost nothing to opposite field. I guarantee, I think I mentioned to you this yesterday, Matt, he would not be having the season he's having or finding the success he's having if there was the old shift rules from a couple seasons ago. I'm shocked his contact rates are less than ideal with how he is performing right now. But in fantasy, as we've said many times before, you ride the hot hand. I think he's a worthy pickup for managers seeking an infusion of power, and the Mets being hot the last 7 to 10 days certainly helps too.
All right. So we have got James in the chat. In a redraft roto league, he's got Bobby Miller on the IL, and he's wondering if it's him or Clayton Kershaw would be better on his team rest of season. For me, that one is an easy answer. I'd rather have Bobby Miller. Yes, Clayton Kershaw is a Hall of Fame pitcher and an inner circle kind of guy. And he's still got a little bit left in the tank, at least when we saw him last. But, another extended injury, especially at his age. I'm going to go with the younger guy here who has shown incredible strikeout upside. And, I think just at this point, he's the better overall pitcher and the better asset to have on your team.
Agreed. All right. So now we're moving to second base. This red has hit safely in 8 of his 10 last games. 8 safely in 8 of his 10 last games with 2 doubles, 8 ribbies, 8 runs scored. He's the number 4 second baseman in that time frame. Matt, is Jonathan India finally getting on track this season?
You know, it would seem that way. He has been excellent. And to be perfectly honest, he's a little more highly owned than what we would usually profile. He's around 60%, but he was the number 1 second baseman last week. You look at his numbers on the season, 243 with a 358 on base and a 700 OPS, 4 home runs. He's got 6 doubles, driven in 26 and scored 26. He moves around in the order quite a bit. He hits higher up in the order against left-handers, which makes perfect sense. This dude has elite plate discipline. His walk rate is in the top 4%, and he's got a league best 15.3% chase rate. His strikeouts are about average, and he has 4 times as many called strikes as he has swinging, just to let you know what his bat-to-ball skills are like. They are excellent. Again, he's making contact on 84% of pitches, 89% in the zone. Quality of contact, though, is a little bit of a different story. His exit velocity, barrel rate, and hard hit rates are all in the bottom 15%, but he's got a 110 mile an hour max exit velocity, so I'm expecting improvement there in his quality of contact. And when we see a high max EV like that, that tells me that there is some pop in this dude's bat. He's got a 300 BABIP, which is in line with his career norms. And at least not to my surprise, he's underperforming his expected stats. And what I mean by that is his expected batting average, expected slugging, and his xWOBA by about 25 points each. Another sign of positive regression. But when you do have a gap that small, you know, part of it is going to be just year-to-year variance. His pull rate is continuing a downward trend to a career low 39.5%. This dude came into the season with roughly 1,200 MLB at bats. At that point, I think we can start to trust what we see from a player. And what we saw is a guy with a career launch angle over 14 degrees and over 15 degrees last season. This year, it's way down to just 8.8 degrees. His ground ball rate is a career high 47% as a result, and it's come at the expense of his fly ball rate, which now sits under 20%. His line drive rate is way up as well. As he gets closer back to his career norms, we'll see the power come with it. I think 10 home runs rest of season is doable, especially in that ballpark and especially in the warmer weather. If you don't believe me, in 9 June games, the dude's hitting 357, 444 with a 500 slug with as many RBIs already as he had in all of May. This dude is legit.
Yep, it's good. That's a big red machine there. They got a lot of good offensive players there in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
and you're right. It's June and the ball is already starting to carry everywhere.
Hell yeah, it is. So we usually have a deep league special for you guys, and this week is no exception. This guy has been flashing some power and awesome discipline at the plate and was the number 2 third baseman last week. What else does Wilmer Flores bring to the table for us?
Definitely a nice bat. Okay, a nice veteran bat, I should say. Doesn't have a lot of power, but makes up for it in other ways. He's been getting most of his starts at the cold corner, pretty much because Matt Chapman holds down third there, but being dual eligible, you got it's extra advantageous. Started June with a bang, 3 homers, 7 RBIs in 5 games. He's got 8 doubles, 4 home runs, 21 ribbies, and 16 runs driven in on the season. Batting average 220, on base is 290, like that a little bit higher, and he's never going to be a slugger. All right, so he's at 341. Looking at his StatCast, as we mentioned, there is not much power at all. Okay, bottom 20% in the league or worse in hard hit rate, exit velocity, barrels, expected slugging, bat speed, really all the things you like to see for hitting metrics, but makes up for it in several ways. Elite K rate, okay, 12.9. He's in the top 5% of the league. That is nothing new for him. He's a 13.6 career strikeout rate. He's always been good at not striking out. Walk rate is 8.6 right now. It's a tick above league average. He's got an average chase rate, so he knows when to lay off pitches. I mentioned he's a veteran. I believe he's 32. Whiff rate, elite, 14.4%. Just excellent. Launch angle is very good as well. 22.3. It's 10 degrees higher than MLB average. He's really been over 20 degrees the last few seasons. So he's working on something there. Help him get some balls in play. And finally, just because he does not have any power, that's right, he has elite contact rates. He's 91.5 in the zone. That's 9% better than league average. And his chase contact is a whopping 16% better than league average. So with all that high contact, he puts the ball in play a lot. Right now, it's not working out for him in his favor. His BABIP has been unlucky at 229 for a career guy that's 50 points higher, 40 to 50 points higher. Mentioned he's a veteran. He's looking for his pitch to hit. He kind of always have, but his first pitch swing percentage this season is 17.2. It's the lowest of his career. So being more patient at the plate, and really, I think in his career he's really always been an underrated bat. He's always kind of defied batted ball data. He's never fared well when it's came to hard hit or barrels, but it's really never stopped him from being a constant threat at the plate. If you have a need at either corner, he can certainly help.
Not a bad deep league option.
No,
either.
No, not for somebody that's 5% owned. So
hell no.
Making our way around the diamond, shortstop. I'm not know if people realize it. It's the Cardinals. They're not the greatest team, but this guy was riding an 18-game hit streak in May. He's hitting 349 over his last 24 games with 14 ribbies, 12 runs, 3 home runs, and 3 steals. He started hitting lead off there against left-handed pitchers, which will help with his run total. Matt, can Masyn Winn keep this up?
You know what? I think so. He's been pretty damn good, if you ask me. And it's a little bit surprising, but it's always nice when you can snag a leadoff hitter and get those extra at-bats. And this dude is just a rookie. And when I look at players, usually something jumps out. And with him, it's no different. He has a league-leading 32.3% line drive rate, 4 points higher than Ruiz, who's in second. And this is the highest league-leading line drive rate since Freddie Freeman matched that 32.3% back in 2018. That is insane. So I'm sure you can understand that despite having terrible quality of contact numbers, his BABIP sits at 361, 6th best among qualified hitters. His ground ball and fly ball rates are all in the same range as his line drive rate, in the low to mid 30s. And even if the quality of contact is bad, his overall contact skills are great. He's got an 86.2% overall contact rate, which is 14th best. He's top 10 in outside the zone contact, and his 90.6% contact in the zone is superb.
That is excellent. 96.
If that's not enough, his plate discipline has been well better than average, especially his 18.5% strikeout rate. This dude uses the whole field, although all 3 of his home runs have been to the pull side. And we are seeing the line drive rate come down a bit the past couple of weeks, but it's still in the high 20s. And let's be real here, he is nowhere near the archetype or with the same kind of power as somebody like Freddie Freeman. But it's also important we understand that when we're talking about line drive rate or ground ball rate or fly ball rate, that's strictly about launch angle. For line drive rate specifically, it's between 10 and 25 degrees. That's all it is. It makes no indication of the quality of the contact, just that little bit. Still, I'm not going to count on much power from him, but I think he'll continue to get on base pretty regularly. And as long as the hitters that are behind him are producing, he's going to continue to score runs. I do like him better in 12-team leagues than in 10-team leagues, but I'll make that sacrifice if I need to. Look, he's a rookie, and this torrid pace that he's on is not going to continue, right? I mean, he's hitting 347 from May 9th to June 9th with an on base approaching 40%. No. And the power is not going to stay either. A 516 slug, man, get the hell out of here with that shit. But take it while you can get it. That's the point of a waiver wire target. It's not to say, all right, well, I'm plugging Masyn Winn in for the rest of the season at shortstop. No, don't be an idiot. But plug him in while he's doing hot. And then when he starts to cool off or starts to suck, guess what? We're going to be right back here with more waiver wire targets for you to keep trucking along.
Absolutely. Let's see. What do we got here? We have a question in the chat.
Yeah.
James is back. Roto redraft league. Your thoughts on trading JD Martinez and Mackenzie Gore for Volpe and Snell? Would bench Snell with hope he turns it around mid-late season. Thanks.
For that one, I would rather have Gore than Snell. Outside of his Cy Young campaigns, Blake Snell is a remarkably average pitcher. I do think Anthony Volpe is a better asset than JD Martinez, but it kind of depends too on what exactly you're looking for. I think there's still some pop in JD Martinez's bat.
Yeah.
But I think Volpe, at least at this point in their respective careers, is the better asset and can contribute in more categories because JD Martinez ain't stealing shit, but Volpe's got some speed and he's got a 20 home run bat there as well. If I do it, I'm doing it for Volpe and not for Snell. And just, I think at least so far this year, Mackenzie Gore has been a better pitcher. Now, I completely understand that Blake Snell has only got a handful of starts. And even when he was out there, he didn't look that great. He dealt with a protracted contract signing. He didn't get shit for his spring training. Then he gets hurt. And all that shit will snowball. And it's very possible that Blake Snell isn't even right until late August. Because we're not that far away from the All-Star break at this point.
Now, like 49 days or something.
Yeah. So, if you feel like you need to do it, I'm not going to trash talk you, James, but I don't necessarily know that if it's the right decision. And he follows up here. He's strong in the outfield, so pursue a 1-on-1 trade for Volpe and giving up Martinez. If you can pull that off, dude, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Good luck to you, man. And even if you have to sweeten the pot a little bit to get Volpe, a small piece in addition to Martinez, I'd be cool with that. But Mackenzie Gore and Martinez is way too much to pay.
It is. Great question, James. As always, good stuff. Good luck, man. Headed to the outfield now, eh?
Yes, we are. And the guy we're we're going to third base.
We already did third. That was Wilmer Flores.
Oh,
Josh Smith primarily play. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. So the guy we're plugging in is eligible at third, shortstop, and outfield. And he's honestly better played in an outfield spot. Still, you don't get to pick where you're going to need players. So Kyle, tell us why Josh Smith is worth a look.
Yeah, we talked about him. It was a while back, maybe April, I believe. But yeah, like you said, eligible all over. Primarily starts at third. Been shining at the hot corner there for Texas and fantasy managers alike, really. From 5'26" to 6'9", he was the number 12 third baseman. And since we're profiling on his outfielder, he was the number 32 outfielder in Yahoo standard scoring. Pretty good. During that same time, his on-base percentage is .412, slugging .533. Just excellent. On the season, he's got 63 games, 58 hits. Love that. Real close to being a hit every game. Just 19 games out of those 63 where he went hitless. So really nice production there. 15 doubles. He's tied for 8th in the majors. Got a triple, 4 home runs, 24 driven in, 32 runs scored, and 4 stolen bases. Slashing 287, 379, 431 on the year. Currently boasts that 287 batting average is the 24th highest in baseball, and that on-base percentage of 379 is the 16th highest in baseball. Strikeout rates above average at 19%. Walk rate is 2. last time we spoke about him in April, he was hitting anywhere from, the bottom third of the order. I'll say 6 to 9 holes there. Since May, he's been creeping up the order there, seeing plenty of starts in the 2 and 3 hole. That is always a positive sign you like to see out of your fantasy batters. So he survives by not hitting the ball hard. He's very low in exit velo, barrels, hard hit rate. They're all in the bottom quarter of the league among hitters. But he does excel at pulling line drives, which is the direct reason he has 15 doubles this year. And he's always really been an above average pull hitter. He's just getting better at it with all this extra playing time. So you love that. So as you can imagine, another guy kind of like Flores doesn't have a lot of power. Very good contact hitter. Smith is the same way as well, especially in the strike zone. 86.6 contact rate. It's almost 5% better than league average, and doesn't swing and miss much either. Whiff and chase rates are both in the 70th percentile or better. Now, so Josh Young is on the verge of a rehab assignment there. That's why he's been getting all the playing time Josh Smith has, because Josh Young has been hurt. So, he should be back for his third base starting job. Seager tweaked his hammy a few days ago. He's still day-to-day. Smith's been playing short. I don't give two shits about who's coming back or not. Smith has made a very strong case for a permanent spot in that Texas lineup. He has the second highest OPS on the team, higher than Marcus Simeon, higher than Adolis Garcia, and he just hasn't slowed down at the plate yet, is still rostered under 55%. Make it make sense. It's kind of reminds me of that old Bill Engvall bit. Like, here's your sign. Get this guy. He's a must add in all formats for me.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. He's I had him rostered for a little bit, but I get impatient at times, which is, the antithesis of the advice that we give here, but
yeah, right.
Learn from my mistakes.
The next outfielder we got for you has been on a tear. After hitting 161 in May, he is now hitting 307 in his last 8 games. And last season, he's got that power speed combo with 18 homers, 27 stolen bases. And now his bat's just warming up. Matt, tell us why TJ Friedl is a great ad right now and maybe for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and apparently this is just the Reds episode that we are going through tonight.
Absolutely.
He is really the spark of a Reds offense that's been surging. As a matter of fact, they're averaging 8.5 runs a game the past couple of weeks, which is what we were expecting coming into the season. Now, not 8.5 runs a game. That's ridiculous, but still, we were expecting some better results than what we saw out of them. Since he come back from the IL on May 29th, the batting average isn't great, 243, but he's getting on base over 40% of the time. He's hitting with power. He's driven in 11 and scored 8, stolen 3 bases. He's got 7 walks, 10 strikeouts, and 3 hit by pitch. So in my book, that's as many walks as strikeouts. He's a number 4 outfielder in that time. But how's he getting it done? Well, it sure as shit isn't by hitting the ball with any kind of authority. Sample size is small, but it was bad last year as well in almost 500 at-bats. However, he is managing a league average barrel rate. That combined with a 44% fly ball rate gives you a 250 BABIP. However, what he lacks in quality of contact, he makes up for in overall contact, especially in the zone where he makes contact just under 91% of the time. His whiff rate, swinging strike rate, and chase rates are all well better than most. His 19.7% strikeout rate is better than average and a little bit higher than last year, but again, small sample size. Over the past couple of weeks, he's got a 15% walk rate. It's at 10% on the season. And this dude is a dead pull hitter. He's overperforming his expected slugging by 70 points, but it's at just 407 on the season. He showed solid extra base power last year with 18 home runs, but like India, he's going to get some help from the warmer weather and from the ballpark. He bats leadoff against righties and drops to 7th against lefties, and he is a left-handed batter. However, the important thing is that he stays in the lineup. To me, he is another must-add in all formats. If he hasn't been scooped up already, I know his ownership is hovering a little over 60%, but still in 4 out of 10 leagues, he's available, and maybe you're in one of those 4 leagues. At least he's worth a look, especially with how shallow outfield has been this year outside of your top, 10 to 15 dudes. After that, it's just kind of a free for all with guys who are, okay for stretches, something like that. But if I can get somebody who's going to be hitting a top of one of the better offenses in baseball that's shown some pop, that'll steal a base, hell yes, there's a spot for him on my team, even if it's at a UT spot.
Yeah, absolutely. He can be your, last hitter on the bench there and rotate him in.
Yeah,
I would.
So it's been a rough year for the White Sox, right? Everyone knows they've pretty much sucked ass the entire year. However, they have a dual eligible first baseman / outfielder who's been a pretty big bright spot on the team quietly.
Yeah.
In an otherwise dismal offense. Kyle, what can Gavin Sheets do for us?
Some surprises. Some surprises. I'm definitely going to tell you. I'm going to show you as well. He was a rookie in 21, had an impressive campaign there, but the last 2 years has really fallen off hard. This season, he is the number 65 fantasy outfielder in baseball. That's surprising to me and probably surprising to many of you as well. And since June 1st, he's fantasy outfielder number 8 with 3 homers, 9 driven in, and he's hit safely in 6 out of his last 8 games. Plays pretty much every day. He will sit versus most lefties, but he'll see a ton of starts at DH2. He's already got 15 there on the season in 60 games, 48 hits, 14 doubles, a triple, 7 homers, 28 ribbies, 21 runs. He's slashing 246, 349, 436. Strikeout rate, very, very good, 17.5%. He's in the top 4th best among hitters. And walk rate is also excellent, 12.7. He's in the top 10%. His Statcast, it's wonderful. I'll just throw it on the screen here for you guys there. Let me take that banner off so you can see it all. Just excellent. So he is that line there in the middle is average, and he is above average in everything except hard hit rate. Just amazing. He has made monumental improvements in expected batting average, expected slugging, WOBA, and ex-WOBA. Where'd he go? There he is. He made those improvements over last year. He was 8% or worse in all 4 of those categories last year, so I really like it. Looking more at some of the batted ball data, he is excellent at being a line drive hitter. He is surviving that way. He's smacking them 32.5% of the time, about 9% more than last season. He's always been above average guy in contact, and that continues this season as well with contact rates of 86% in the zone and 66% when he chases pitches out of the zone. Now through June 20th, he's just scheduled through just 2 scheduled starts versus lefty pitchers. And even then, you're going to see him. He's pinch hit, 9-10 times this year. You'll see him pinch hit in those games as well. And then as Matt, kind of mentioned at the top of Gavin Sheets here segment, let's address the elephant in the room. There's little to find in terms of fantasy value on this White Sox roster. However, even the worst teams will offer someone enough volume to make use on your fantasy squad. And I think Sheets fits the bill. If you're looking for a guy with a little pop, doesn't strike out, gets on base, I think he's an excellent, excellent addition in deeper leagues. Oh, my bad.
All good.
What do we got here? We already got it. Arozarena sucks. Yep. Drop him. Arenado's about next to be dropped on one of my teams, so I get it. All right. Let's look at some hurlers. Eh?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. First one, this guy in his last 9 starts and just 45 innings pitch has issued just 6 walks. And has a great start this Sunday, June 16th, at home versus the Angels. Matt, tell us more about Giants starting pitcher Kyle Harrison.
Yep, Kyle Harrison, and for obvious reasons, I'm usually pretty leery of people named Kyle. They tend to be pretty shifty.
Yeah.
But he does have that awesome home start against LA, and this is a 2-start week for him. We didn't really profile him last Thursday just because his ownership was a little bit over our threshold. We focus on dudes who are under 50% owned. But that start against Houston yesterday, he scattered 4 hits across 6 1/3, only gave up 1 earned. Strikeouts were low with just 3, but he didn't walk anyone for the second straight start. And that was his 7th quality start of the season. He's gone at least 5 innings in all but one of his 14 starts. Oh, and that Angels offense, they're scoring the second fewest runs over the past couple weeks with a 192 team batting average. They have fared a little bit better against lefties than righties, but still, I don't care. He's not a big strikeout pitcher, but he's more than capable of getting you a K per inning in any given start. However, just understand that his whiff rate and swinging strike rates are both in the bottom third, and he's not really fooling many dudes with just a 25.8% chase rate. He has a really nice 6.7% walk rate, top 30% of the league, and that's down a point from last season. And this year, it's like he's either getting hit more or he's pitching to contact more. We'll go with that latter option and say it's intentional. And he's trusting the defense behind him, which is a little bit better than average, and utilizing his home park, which is fantastic for pitchers. As a result, we're seeing a higher overall contact rate than the average pitcher, both in and out of the zone. And when it comes to quality of contact, you may want to look away. I can tell you, I sure as shit ain't putting his StatCast snippet up on the screen. He's got a bottom 20% exit velocity and barrel rate. Hard hit rate's also down there as well. However, his saving grace has been a 14-point increase to his ground ball rate, though it's still slightly below average. He is a 3-pitch pitcher whose most effective pitch is his fastball, and he throws it about 63% of the time, second most in baseball. There's not a lot of velo on it, but it's top 10 in horizontal movement, and he does a good job of using it up in the zone. His changeup also gets a ton of movement along both planes, and his curveball is his strike pitch with a top 15 called plus swinging strike rate. Overall, he's a slightly below average pitcher at this point, but remember, he's still just 22 years old, and really all of these targets that we're going to have available for, waiver wires, especially as we get deeper into the season, they're all going to have their flaws. They're all going to have their warts, but this is where you pick and choose which starts you run these guys out there for. Kyle Harrison, this is a perfect example. Let's run him out there against the Angels at home against a team that's been struggling, and the Giants offense has actually been a little bit better over the past few weeks. That smells like a recipe for a win to me.
Yeah, hit that. He's got one of the better fastball run values. That is his bread and butter pitch. I think he's almost double-digit run value, if I'm not mistaken.
It's possible.
Let's see. What do we got here in the chat? Earlier, I asked about is it better or worse to lose by a blowout or lose by just a few points or less? Dubo says, I'm way more interested in a close loss. Looking at who I could have started. Blowouts, I don't even care. Yeah, and that's really it. You got blown out. You're already thinking about next. You're blown out by Thursday or something. It's on to next week. I'm already thinking about next week. Full blast. So.
Yep, there ain't shit you can do about it. But if you lose by, 10 points or even single digit points, that is a week of second guessing. Oh, if I'd only done this, I thought about doing it, but I pussed out at the last minute. Now just blow my ass out and like you said, on to next week. And speaking of moving on, the Twins have the absolute perfect schedule for a bounce back this week. We all know Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez, and I talked about Chris Paddock last week, but the Twinkies have a rookie hurler that's really starting to open some eyes.
Yes, we're talking about Simeon, Woods-Richardson, dual eligible. It's got a home start versus Oakland this Friday. If you're, in daily leagues, you could consider scooping it up for a good start. He's looked pretty decent. He's started 10 games. He's 2-1 in 50 2/3 innings pitched. 3 quality starts out of those 10. ERA is 2.84. WHIP of 109 is pretty good. The FIP is 3.55. His xFIP's 4.09. So it suggests some good luck and some good defense behind him. Strikeout rate, it's below average at 20.3. He's in the bottom third, worst among pitchers. Walk rate is excellent, though. Really makes up for it there at 5.3%. In his last 5 starts, he's allowed 3 earned runs just once. He's allowed more than 3 earned runs just once in his 10 total starts. And the last 2 starts, he has struck out 6 batters each time. In those 5 starts since May 17th, he's the starting pitcher, number 61 in fantasy, which is not terrible at all. But he's dual eligible. So he is the number 10 relief pitcher since May 17th. So if you're in head-to-head points leagues, if you champion, the same strategy I use, a lot of folks use, where you insert a dual eligible pitcher like Simeon into your relief roster spots to help you get an extra start or two, you've been very happy with your decision so far. He does a pretty good job of not allowing too much hard contact. Exit velo, hard hit rate are both above average, but barrels are slightly below average. Looking at his contact rate, he pitches to contact. He relies on that defense behind him. Does a good job on some swing and miss with getting batters to chase. He's in the 60th percentile. The whiffs, well, I shouldn't have said miss, but the whiffs, different story. Bottom 22% in the league. He's using his pitch mix differently this season. He's throwing his fastball a lot less and his slider and change a lot more while incorporating a curve to his repertoire this season. He's only thrown this new curve 64 times, but it has a whiff rate of over 30%. So let's remember, this is a young guy. Again, Matt mentioned that we're going to talk about a lot of young guys. He's just 23 years of age. He's still figuring out what it means to be a big league starter, but he's been a reliable starter. And while there haven't been many, great highs, his steadiness, I think, deserves a spot on your roster. What do we got? Something
I
chat?
agree. Yep. So we got James back here in the chat. Love talking with you, buddy. Rest of season Roto, your preference. Stephen Kwan, who's available on waivers. Luis Robert on his team, who he picked up. Or Adolis Garcia, who just got dropped.
No
Great show.
brainer.
Thanks for your advice.
No brainer, James. I'm going with Adolis Garcia there in a great offense. Quan's been doing amazing things there in Cleveland, and that offense has been scoring runs at a large pace. But give me Adolis Garcia. I have him in my home league this year and last year. It's Adolis all the way for me. The power, he's going to have 40 home runs. He's going to have 110 RBIs at least. He's the guy to go with.
For me, I really think it all depends on which categories you're looking to address, because players like Adolis Garcia and Luis Robert are going to hurt your average, where Stephen Kwan will carry the kind of average to make up for dudes like that.
That's true.
So it really comes down to roster construction and what you're looking for. In a vacuum, though, I'm taking Adolis Garcia as well.
Yeah. Good question, James. Good stuff. I'm really high on Adolis Garcia. And many hitters. I'm really bummed. Wish they'd be playing a little bit better there. They need everybody to come back there and play. They've been dealing with so many injuries. What do we got next? All right, another pitcher. This guy has been a strikeout machine so far. He has 58 Ks and just 62 innings pitched. Hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs since April. Tell us if Andrew Heaney with Texas is a good waiver candidate this week.
Yeah, I think he is. The last time we talked about him, it really seemed he was struggling to hold on to his spot in the rotation. They were bringing up Jack Leiter, and really, I think kind of the prevailing thought at the time was he only held on to his rotation spot because of the injuries.
Yeah.
He's been excellent his last 2 starts, and I know huge sample size, right? He's 1-1 with 12 strikeouts, just 1 walk, 3 earned runs allowed, and 11 2/3 innings pitched. And he starts Friday in Seattle, which is the best pitcher's park in the league, against a Mariners team that is starting to figure some things out, but still strikes out a ton. And despite showing some power against left-handed pitchers, Seattle has just a 218 team average against. That lines up really well for Heaney, even though he has a below average strikeout rate and just below. But that's because he has outstanding whiff and swinging strike rates. And he's achieving that with a 10-mile-an-hour delta between his fastball and his slider, which account for 75% of his total pitches. And that slider's been pretty damn effective. He's got a 38% whiff rate with that. But we're going to come back to the slider in just a minute. This is also a dude who doesn't beat himself. His walk rate is just over 5.5%. His overall contact data looks good. Contact and zone contact rates are both below league average. Sounds great so far, right?
Yeah.
Well, now we're going to talk quality of contact. He's got a 91-mile-an-hour exit velocity, bottom 10%. Hard hit rate sitting at 43.5%. That's the bottom 18%. What's most surprising is his 7.3% barrel rate, which is actually a little bit better than average. But he's somebody who's given up a lot of hard contact throughout his career. But why that is surprising is because of his batted ball data. This dude is an extreme fly ball pitcher. And what do I mean by extreme? His 45.5% fly ball rate is the 14th highest among pitchers with at least 60 innings pitched. And that slider we talked about earlier, that's where he gets his ground balls. 44.4% is in the top 8%, and he gets it pulled almost 56% of the time. So that tells me that around half the time you're hitting the ball on the ground to the pull side because you were way early on the pitch. You rolled your wrists over, and now you've got a little dribbler to short or second base.
Yeah.
Easy outs. Soft contact is easy outs. And I didn't dive too deep into the quality of contact on the slider, but if you're hitting it on the ground almost 60% of the time, I'm damn sure going to take that. He has kind of righted the ship since earlier in the season. And at least for this spot start instance, he's well worth running out there.
Heck yeah. All right.
So, we've talked about dudes who you can add and help your team right away, but maybe you're somebody who's been a little bit lucky. The injury bug hasn't hit you, and you've got a spare IL spot. Well, we've got a couple injury stashes for you as well. And look, it's not often that you can snag a recent Cy Young Award winner off the wire, but you have the chance to do that with Robbie Ray.
Yeah, no kidding. Just 18% owned on Yahoo right now. Everyone's really focused on Garrett Cole and Bobby Miller returning back to big league action, but Robbie Ray has also started his rehab assignment from Tommy John surgery last year. He threw a couple hitless innings in the Arizona League on Saturday, June 8th. Still on track to return around the All-Star break or even as early as July 1st. Remember, this guy started 32 games each in 2021 and 22. He had double-digit wins in each season and 200-plus Ks in each season. And as Matt mentioned, he won the AL Cy Young in 2021. So if you don't have a lot of injury stashes in your league, you're in a league with, 4 IL spots or something like that, this could be the time to add him before the fab price goes up.
And it's going to.
It's going to. One more injury stash for you. This guy's a potential 5-category contributor who can be, a league winner, really. And his price will only continue to rise as we approach the end of his suspension. If you have room to stash him, get him at a discount now. We're talking about Noelvi Marte with Cincinnati Reds.
Yes, and this dude was slated to begin the season as the Reds' everyday third baseman. He is a top 30 MLB prospect. But then his ass got popped for PEDs, and he come out recently and said, didn't know what happened. It just appeared in his system. And who hasn't that happened to, right?
All the time.
I can't even count on one hand the number of times where I've just woke up one day and had shit in my system that I don't know how it got there. But
right, you should have just done the Manning and blamed it on his wife.
Yep. Absolutely. Last year, he came up for a cup of coffee or a little bit more at 35 games, and he was pretty impressive. He showed some pop, stole some bases, showed off the bat to ball skills. His strikeout rate was a little bit better than league average in that short sample, with a walk rate a little bit below. He's got some pop in his bat, though, and look, he's eligible to return June 27th. So you got about 2 weeks before he comes back. He's serving out the suspension, but he's also making rehab starts due to an injury. The pop in his bat, I think once he gets in and kind of gets in a flow to things, I think 10 home runs the rest of the way is a
Sure.
reasonable expectation. There's some stolen base upside there as well. We've talked really at length today about this Reds offense and how they're really starting to hit their stride and get some things figured out. And, for those of you that don't like the Reds, we apologize. It's just kind of the way things fell today. And you know what? I don't apologize. Our show, we're going to talk about whoever we want.
That's right. Damn it.
He can hit the ball with authority. He has all the things that you're looking for in, a third baseman or a possible waiver wire target. And right now he's owned in just over 15% of leagues. June 27th is going to be here before you know it. And they're not going to bring his ass back from suspension and injury just to plop him on the bench when the plans were all along that his ass was going to be out there every damn day. Absolutely. So I don't really see any reason why their plans would be altered. The kid's still the same prospect that he was at this time last year with a little bit more development now, and he's had a taste of the show. I think he's a fantastic ad if you've got the spot for him, and he's somebody who's going to pay dividends in the second half.
Agreed. Yep. Yeah. He was amazing last year on what he could do. So heck yeah. All right. Let's check in on the listener league. Supersonic, you were at the top there for 1 week there. You slipped down to second. Sean's BBC is at the top there. You guys are tied, of course, at 6-4. I started 4-0, and I've lost 5 of the last 6. I'm 500 now. Matt's back up at 4. It's a really tight league. 6-4, 5-5, 4-6. It's really up to anyone to win this one.
Yep. And I will direct everyone's attention to the rightmost column that says points, and you'll see that 9th place team is second in scoring. And
nobody cares about that.
This is, shit like this happens. It's a run of bad luck, or you score the second most points 1 week, but you play the team that scores the most.
Right.
It's the way she goes.
Yep. James, I've got some pretty good hitters on my team. Have a tough time figuring out who to play at times. Join the club. Any thoughts on strategy over and above the opposing pitcher matchups? Many thanks. Man. I always look and see, like the Reds, for instance, we've been talking about. They only have 5 games this week. I am always trying to look at that to see how many games these teams are playing. If I'm usually thinking about not just against pitchers, but the games played, I'm going to try and start somebody that's got 7 games that plays every day over somebody that's going to only play 5.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to look at what ballpark they're going to be in. You'll also want to look too, like, if you've been watching baseball for any amount of time, you understand that much like basketball, baseball is a game of runs, only it's down to an individual level, right? People don't just hit 300 from day one and then carry that exact same average through the season to, the end of September, early October. There's ebbs and flows. And if you see a dude who is starting to heat up, maybe I'm going to play him over a guy who's just been so-so, because generally these hot streaks aren't just for 2 or 3 games. It's a week, 10 days, 14 days. Sometimes it's 3 weeks. And if you can get on that early, you can get a much better return.
Yep.
That's a good point there, James. Yeah. And if you really want to get nerdy about it, you can look at, there is umpire data out there available as well. That's like some next level nerdery that I have yet to embark on, but the thought has definitely crossed my mind.
Yeah, because Angel Hernandez retired, there don't worry, there's still a lot of horrible major league umpires out there.
Yes, there are.
Oh man, thanks for joining us today for the waiver wires at every position. Let us know in the chat, in the comments, who is your favorite fictional baseball player from TV or whatever. So I think Rick Wild Thing, Vaughn. I really like Billy Chappell from For the Love of the Game. Matt, who do you got?
Kenny Powers.
Kenny? That's a good one too.
Eastbound and Down is one of the funniest shows I've seen. And let me be clear. Kenny Powers is an asshole, and I certainly would not advocate for anyone to, behave in the way that he does. But from a purely comedic standpoint, best pitcher ever, man.
Yeah, Danny McBride makes some good stuff. I like Righteous Gemstones a lot too. But yeah, who's your favorite? Let us know in the comments. Also, do not forget, give us that like and subscribe if you like this content. It helps you out. We're here for you every Tuesday and Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're also available on podcast. The podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple, and more. We're going to be back Thursday at 7 for low-owned 2-start pitchers for next week. Have a great evening, everyone. Stay stoned.
See ya.